Sending data. Sending data. Like, how do you know when it's... Okay, we're online, but how do you know when it's live on Twitch, you know? Oh, we're rolling, yeah. Because it says streaming data. But anyway, hey, internet, world, how's everyone doing? It's Saturday. We're doing another SUPcast, and today we're very, very pleased. And I say we, I'm talking me, I. You know, I always talk about we, us. There's no us. It's just fucking me. I'm so used to saying us because I was in a band for so many years, and pre-COVID, we were traveling around the country. I was always referring to we. I drive around in the van, and I refer to we. Yeah, we went here. We went, and my girlfriend says, we didn't go here. I said, we, the band. She seems to forget sometimes that I travel in packs and do it from the back. But anyway, this is SUPcast. This is the podcast I started in my van last year, and then COVID happened, and now we've been doing it Zoom. So here's another Zoom edition of the SUPcast, the Neil P. SUPcast, and we're going to roll these motherfucking credits. Let's do it. There you go.
Yeah.
Ah, we got a sub. Okay, we're fucking working it. Okay, so we're online. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitch. We're on YouTube. We're streaming. We're multi-streaming, just like the dude in the video earlier today that I'm about to interview said you all should do. And some people, like Harris Heller, says you shouldn't do it. So we're going to talk about all that. What should you do? Should you restream? Should you be on one platform? Should you concentrate on one platform? Who the fuck knows? The fact is, I'm stuck here. California's on lockdown again, and I'm stuck. And I'm drinking tea, like always, every week. We are drinking the Throat Coat. Let's see if I can get the light. Throat Health Herbal Tea by our friends at the Wendigo Tea Company, who have been gracious enough to sponsor this entire podcast for the rest of the year. Like, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sky, and the wonderful people over at the Wendigo Tea Company. And I was drinking this shit on the daily because we were in a basement apartment with a mold problem. Well, guess what? They moved us upstairs. I can sing again. I'm not, like, all fucking hoarse and disgusting. And, like, the mold will really fuck up your health, man. So I'm drinking this tea now, but with better throat health just based on the air condition, which is a wonderful thing. But everyone, 15% off. There's a link in the Facebook, there's a link in the YouTube, and there's a link in the About section of the Twitch for 15% off your entire order from the Wendigo Tea Company, and that's my plug for this week. Very pleased today in the waiting room to have Fang VonWrathenstein, I don't know. He's okay. He's gonna tell me how to correctly pronounce his name, of the heavy metal, world's heaviest fucking internet's heaviest band. I don't know. He'll clarify all of this. The Lords of the Trident, Madison, Wisconsin, friends of the show, friends of me, and we're gonna go to the waiting room right now, and I'm gonna unmute this dude, and we're gonna make this shit happen. Oh, he's already unmuted.
One step ahead of you, Mr. Nebo.
Okay, let's go. Let me just make this the
hey,
full screen. Here we go. All right, we're rolling. Gosh, darn it.
Enhance. Engage.
Engage. Hello. So we're on the internet. We're live, and I recently had a debate, with my girlfriend, who I talk to about everything, even stuff she doesn't understand or care about.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, hey, should I stream the podcast or should I record it and do all the editing? And like, I could probably get a better audio signal if I don't stream it, but I'm into the streaming thing now. So should I be streaming it? What should I be doing with my life? Should I go get a job at Trader Joe's, or should I wait for my unemployment to kick in after 14 weeks? Like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. There's so many questions, man.
So
were you asking me? Were you facetiously asking your girlfriend?
I'm asking the air. If you want to weigh in, like, you're a smart guy, tell me things.
I think what you're doing right now is the correct thing to do. If you want to go the Mega 64 route, if you want to do it if you want to get the best of both worlds, you stream it right? And then you come back and you edit the audio and you make it all nice, you make it look good and blah blah blah, and then you put the replay up like 3 days later, and then boom, you got the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Well, essentially that's what I'm doing, because after this goes live, I take the audio, I master it, and then I put it up the next day. It goes up Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that.
So you're already a step ahead of me. You already know what's up. So yeah.
Oh, this is funny. Someone in the comments just said "E-boy Neil." I think that's cute. Yeah. I used to be a boy in real life, and now I'm just an e-boy.
E-boy. So I know you're drinking the tea. I am. We're not sponsored by, but hopefully someday soon. Three Sheeps Brewing. I'm drinking the Wolf. This one. So I went down and I picked this up. This is there was, anytime you go to the supermarket and they're like limit 2 per customer on anything, you're like, what is this?
Yeah,
I need it. You know, and I'll tell you why, because it's. The camera won't be able to pick this up, maybe, but it says 12.3. There it is. 12.3% alcohol, man.
Yeah, that's wine. That's wine alcohol content.
It's basically wine. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the closest thing to the Goose Island Bourbon County Stout that I've ever had in my life, and it's delicious. It's amazing.
So is it thick when it's going down? Okay.
Yeah, dude, it's like a chocolate milk mixed with a coffee, put in a bourbon barrel. They soak like it in peat moss. They throw some liquid smoke in there. You know, it comes out like motor oil. They thin it down with water, and then boom, that's the Wolf. That's it.
Wow.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, I used to be a big drinker, but I haven't. I just did the math. Come November, it'll be 12 years since I drank an alcoholic beverage, and that it's not. It mostly has to do with me being an alcoholic, is why I stopped. So there's that. But
you save so much money.
Yeah, it's true. You know what I miss the most though is eating a fucking burger with a Guinness. Like that, to me, was heaven on earth. Just like biting into some dead animal. I don't even really eat meat anymore. My girlfriend is she's vegan, not by choice, but it's because she's intolerant to gluten, and she's intolerant to dairy. So pretty much we have to avoid all that, which pretty much makes us vegan. Just if I want to eat a meal with her, and she avoids the meat for, I don't know if it's for ethics or for health reasons.
Yeah,
but it's weird. It's weird.
I've had some of those. I watched this Mark Rober video where they were talking about how they made the meatless meat, and it just got me so interested. You know, I've been really interested in trying one of those meatless products that have heme in them that sort of bleed, quote unquote. You know,
yeah, like the Impossible Burger.
Yeah, and I've never been able to try one.
What is heme? Tell me what heme is.
I think it's like a hemoglobin substitute that they pull out of plants, and it actually makes it the burger like red and juicy and bleed. So if you like cook it medium rare or rare, I mean, you take a bite out of it and you see like the blood coming out. It's not blood, but it's heme.
It's heme.
You know?
Yeah.
It's not blood. It's heme.
Yeah. The Impossible Burger has that. We have. It's really expensive though. It's even more expensive than actual beef. And it's crazy. But if depending on how you cook it, there is a heme. You cut into it with a knife and it will bleed.
Yeah.
And
so I mean,
if it bleeds, you can kill it.
we try to get some of the. We've got like the Beyond or whatever. We try to get some of that every other time we go shopping, just so that we can kind of reduce the amount of just, I guess, ecological impact that we're having, and like honestly, you throw all the rest of the fixings on it, dude, you can't tell. No, you can't tell. Don't tell me you can tell.
Although what's weird is that you can't tell if you're biting into it and it's not meat, but if it is meat after you haven't had meat for a little bit, you can tell, because I went to Del Taco and ordered they have the Beyond Meat burrito or whatever, and I was like, every once in a while I'll cheat. I'll go to Del Taco, I'll get a Beyond burrito. It's got some sour cream in it. It's whatever. And I bit into it, and there was bacon, and there was but it was good. That's the thing is I enjoy meat. I love the taste of meat, but it's ethically, after watching all these internet videos, it's hard for me to just be like drinking a big glass of whole milk and just being like, yeah, this is cruelty free, but which is funny because my band in 2007, we put out an album called I Love Burgers, and on the back of the album, there's actually there's a little girl watching a cow get its head cut off. And we at the time we were like on the Warped Tour, and we wanted to offend everybody. This was before woke culture. This is before PC really made its comeback, and so we're like, all right, let's make everyone feel disgusting about themselves. We were rubbing mustard on ourselves. I was 250-pound alcoholic, just sweating on strangers, tackling.
Yeah, checks out.
And now it's like I'm like, oh, but the cruelty. It's funny. I remember some guy. Oh, go ahead.
That's what the internet videos do to you, man. You know, you get so deep in on the internet, and then you either go like one direction or the other. So you know.
We bought the domain name. StupidGayBand.com because. Dude,
I remember when that was your domain name. That's.
And the reason we got that is because at the time in the mid 2000s we had this message board on our website where there was no moderators. So you could anonymously slander Downtown Brown in real time, and there was a lot of people that had a good time doing that, and they called us. You know, they commented on my weight, they commented on our sexual preference. They pretty much said, "You guys fuck each other, stupid gay band," and so we just took it and we ran with it. We're like, "Yeah, stupidgayband.com, check us out." Yep. And but we signed this management deal in 2013, and our manager was like, "You know, you should just nix the stupidgayband.com." I mean, it was a joke. The joke ran for like 8 years, so we got some traction out of it.
You got mileage out of it, and the most important thing is that you took what they use as an attack, and you embrace it, and then that became, you know, so much more out of that. And that's the best thing you can hope for when people, you know, I will say, like, one of my favorite we have a box, and I'm sure you do too. We got a box of like band memories, you know, of like posters and flyers and backstage passes and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite things, still to this day of all time, and this was like maybe a year and a half after Lords of the Trident was founded. I was still putting up like physical posters all downtown State Street, Madison. And we had like 2 shows in a row. So I made 2 different posters, and I was going back and I found one of our old posters that was kind of buried, right? Because I was being a good citizen. I was taking down the old posters and putting up the new ones. Didn't want them to sit there and languish. And someone had taken with a Sharpie, had written across our faces, "Death to false metal." And I was like, that is the coolest thing ever. Like, I affected someone so much that they're like, wait a minute, I gotta stop my day and take this Sharpie out of my pocket and just write "Death to false metal." You know what I mean? Like that, it was so cool. It was so cool.
It was probably a Manowar fan that was just angry that you weren't from Jersey. You weren't Joey DeMaio.
You know, I didn't have the requisite clothing line of like the weird straps going across my nipples, and you know, I was wearing mostly leather. It was all leather, but it wasn't like hypersexual, you know, and I needed to do more push-ups. To kind of get
you need to make it gayer.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was a thing. That was a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, Manowar always whenever Loudwire or whatever they do like a top most terrible metal album covers, like Manowar is always number 2 or number 1. Yeah, but you love Manowar. You can't be in the band you're in and not love Manowar.
Yeah, I mean, we would wax poetic about, and before I was really even into heavy metal, I had a Manowar DVD just because I thought it was the funniest shit. And we would just wax poetic about the lyrics, and how incredibly like crazy, self-referencing, dumb they were, but in a very like, "We are Manowar and we will destroy all of your speakers forever." You know, and I was like, that's so cool. When I do a song now, you know, when we did our first album, I kept thinking the whole time of the lyrics. I'm like, I gotta out Manowar. Gotta, like,
how do you do that?
It's so hard. It's and the first song we ever wrote, we were up super late, and I wasn't expecting to put lyrics on this, to sing on this. It was 3 a.m, and the guitarist, you know, my good friend Aki, taps me on my shoulder and he's like, "Hey, can you sing on this?" I'm like, yeah. You know, what do you want? What should I sing? I don't have any lyrics. And he's like, just, you know, like Manowar, like go, you know. And he hit record, and I'm like, "Through the night through the dawn of time, we will stand on the hills of Babylon and fight, and do that. And it was just it was 3 a.m. like garbage out of my brain that I was trying to channel Manowar. And those are still the full song. Like I wrote like that in that moment, and those are still the lyrics to this day on that song. It's amazing.
So was that the first song you wrote in the band, Lords of the Trident? Was that that was the
it was a genesis,
the inaugural lyric session?
Yep, it was channeling Manowar. So everything, like we were talking, everything circles back to Manowar all the time.
So it just started off as like an accident, kind of?
Yeah, it was. So I was in another band at the time. This is, you're getting the actual inside scoop of the real genesis of Lords of the Trident.
Let's get into it.
Yeah. So we were in the dorms. It was my junior year. Me and Aki, the lead guitarist, we were living together, and we met this other dude who was from my hometown, who I didn't know because he was like a year or two younger than us. And dude was an incredible shredder. I mean, guy, like just he would. Yeah. To this day, still, he could lap circles around most guitarists, and I was in a different band at the time. I was in like an alternative rock and funk band, and I was just sitting playing games on my computer, and the two dudes were like sitting shredding with each other, doing stuff, blah blah blah, and I had my headphones on, and but I was kind of listening in, and I'm like, okay, all right. And then Aki like taps me on the shoulder, and he's like, hey, we came up with this kind of like riff idea, and can you record this on your computer somehow? And this is like 2006, so I was like, yeah, maybe, I think so. I don't know, and I think this was at like 10 p.m. in the dorms, so we're just throughout the next, I don't know, until 3 a.m, we're sitting here like trying to plug things into things, trying to figure out how recording works. I've never done this before,
right?
And so we're just like having a blast, just trying things. And I still have the demo from like from that night. And yeah, like 3 a.m, they're like, sing something on this, and I'm like, oh, And then I think at 3:30 a.m, we grabbed everybody who was still awake on like the boys' floor, or the men's floor, whatever, the boys, and we grabbed and we're like, hey, we need a bunch of people to come into our dorm room and shout, die and kill, so that we can have like a chorus of like men like die, and that happened for about 15 minutes, and then the RA came by and was like, guys, you can't just shout die and kill at 4 a.m. It's not going to work. So, all right, sorry. But we had so much fun doing that we just kept like meeting every other weekend and just like, spewing crap out of our brains. And this was back in the time when Facebook was still young, so it was only the university people that were on the Facebook. And so I
was still doing MySpace.
Yeah, dude.
Until 08.
The
08 was my the great Facebook beginning.
Yes, dude. The one thing, side tangent, the one thing that MySpace had over Facebook still has over Facebook. What? Sorry?
Searchability.
Yes. Yeah. Like you could put a zip code in there and say, like, show me all the metal bands in the zip code. Like and I have friends who work at Facebook, and I'm like, guys, what are we doing? Like, you have everybody's data. Just come on, help us out, us touring bands, please. Yeah. But anyway, so we're sitting there and going like, oh, we want to put this up on Facebook to show people, because it's just a bunch of people in the Madison campus. And we're like, what do we call it? We can't call it like Ty, Aki, and Brian. We need to call it something cooler, And Aki's like, well, what's a cool name? And this is, 3:45 in the morning. I'm like, Lords of the Trident Unite. And so we were Lords of the Trident Unite for a long time. And then when the band actually became a real thing, like in real life, we thought, we were Lords of the Trident Unite for like three shows, and everybody's just saying, oh, Trident practice, oh, gonna go see Trident, blah blah blah. So we just took the Unite part off of there, and to this day I want to make Unite like an album title, it's like a throwback that no one will get, but I want to make that a throwback album title.
The 12 people listening to this podcast will get it.
Yeah, they'll know. They'll be
But I can already see the album cover. It's like Lords of the Trident at the top, and then Unite like across the bottom in stone or some shit. Like,
Oh yeah.
That'd be
Oh
tight.
yeah. You got it. It writes itself.
Yeah.
It really.
So how long
yeah.
before? Okay, so it started in a dorm room, but how long before there was like an actual live show? Because so much of what you guys do is the live performance and the gauntlets and the fire and the singing and isn't there like a light up box that you step on and it lights? Like, let's get into that. When did all that start?
So, like I said, at the time I was still in I was in an alternative rock and funk band that I started. And it was still going pretty strong. We actually headlined, for those people who are, if anybody's listening who's from Madison, there's this thing, Freak Fest, that they do on State Street. They used to have a big, during a Halloween, people would just flood the downtown area, State Street it's called. And there was just riots and just drunk people everywhere. And eventually in 2006, that year, the year we did this whole thing, the city government was like, we're going to need to stop doing this because too many people are getting hurt, gosh darn it. And the businesses are just getting looted and it's terrible. So they like sectioned off the street and they put on a big like multi-stage concert venue thing called Freak Fest. And the first year we headlined, my band headlined one of the 3 stages at Freak Fest, and it was amazing. It was like there was like 10,000 people. It was the biggest.
What was
show
the band called?
It's called Paper Tiger.
Paper Tiger?
Yeah.
I feel like I've heard that name before.
It's probably it probably wasn't original. I mean,
yes.
So but come senior year, people were starting to kind of go their separate ways, and I was I was in a triple major program in college, so I ended up taking 5 years to finish.
Oof.
That's a funny story for maybe another time. But,
that's a lot of college.
Yeah. It was fun. I did, for the people wondering, I did computer science, Japanese, and East Asian studies were my 3 majors.
Wow.
About the time the Paper Tiger was kind of splitting up and people going their separate ways, this guy was going here, this guy was going to MIT, this guy's blah, 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 we had always talked about like, we should just do a couple of like Trident shows just for fun. Like, get some costumes and like light things on fire and get some like foam swords and, go out in the audience and just, be like Manowar as much as we could on a small scale.
Yeah.
And just freak people out. Because that just you didn't see a whole lot of that happening. It was still pretty like heavy at least in Madison, really heavy into like the jam and alternative rock kind of ethos of the city. And there wasn't that big bombastic stage show going on. And any metal bands that were playing were like super serious, and they were like, this song is all about my feelings and Shelly who left me and how I killed myself but got resuscitated. It's like, no, dude, I just want to have fun. Like, come on, I don't need to feel feelings about this. So we did that summer. We're like, fuck it, let's just do some Trident shows. So we found like a drummer and one of my friends played bass, and we played a couple shows. And dude, by our 3rd or 4th show, I think it was our 4th show. You remember playing the Frequency in Madison, right? That the smaller stage place. Did you ever play
of course, that? Yeah. We played there with Polka Dot Cadaver, and we played there with Psycho Stick, and we also headlined there, and then we played there with Ryan Shremp's band, Sparkle Fuck.
We played
with them multiple. Yeah, I probably played there 4 or 5 times. And Darwin was always really nice.
Darwin's the best. He's amazing.
Shouts out.
Shouts out to Darwin.
Sup?
The place had just opened like 2 months ago, right? So it's this brand new venue, and we were nobody, right? But we're like, we're having a CD release party, so they gave us a Friday night, and somehow I still to this day have no idea how this happened, but somehow the place like nearly sold out. It was just a complete freak. I don't know what happened. I didn't do anything. I didn't advertise. I put up some flyers, but I think the band we were playing with, Government Zero, I think they were the impetus behind a lot of it. But we had like 130 people.
That's a small place.
Tiny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's like if it's asses and elbows, you can maybe get 150.
Yeah.
And people were somehow like singing along to our songs, and I'd never had this in Paper Tiger. We were we played to like 10 people maxed, you know. So this to me was like, what is going on? So at the end of the night, we go down into the green room, and all of us are just shocked, you know, completely flabbergasted. And we're just looking at each other. We're like, so I guess we're gonna keep doing this then. And you know, and there you go. It's been what, 11, 12 years later. Now we're here.
That's how it goes. I just interviewed a friend of mine from Detroit who's was in this hip hop duo, and it just started off, they were just making tracks, and then it caught steam, and then they did a live show, and they were weirder and more forward thinking and more prolific than any of the other groups in Detroit at the time. So they just, over that year, 2011, 2012, they just kind of fucking blew up the scene. Yeah, and it was it was just like a breath of fresh air, and I think it probably has a lot to do with, you know, Lords of the Trident was a fun show, and this was in a scene where things were kind of the same way they were for, you know, many years. It was something different, you know, and a lot of where the impetus behind Lords of the Trident came from was a lot of my time playing with Paper Tiger, because like we played a crap ton of shows and we played with a crap ton of bands. Yeah. And I couldn't tell you who was who. Every single person, I remember 0 of those bands. Every single person wore jeans and a t-shirt. There was like minimal stage show. It was like, you know, this song is it's about the time I broke up with Stacy, and you know, this is really important to me. It's a really heartfelt song. And I'm like, I don't remember any of those songs. I don't remember any of them. None of them. But you know, I just wanted to have fun. I wanted to, I saw that like the darkness was becoming big, and I'm like, yes, that is what I want. That, you know, ride in on a tiger. Like, fuck yeah. Oh my God. So yeah. I wanted Lords of the Trident. I still, to this day, I always want Lords of the Trident to be like, you know, the biggest stage show that you could imagine someone with like 0 budget and no management and like whatever put on. You know, we're just going to craft all of our own stuff and, you know, somehow make our own home explosives that hopefully don't maim too many people. And we're just going to we're going to go for it. That's how you got to do it. I mean, I'm from Detroit, and like ICP, they didn't have any corporate backing. Well, they did. They signed a major label, I think, but they had already solidified themselves as this underground thing, and everything they did, they funded themselves. And the Fago thing, it was all it was all very DIY, grassroots, and you can. There's so much you can do just by yourself if you are motivated to do it, to make it happen, and that's. And especially like getting into the, like, you know, you've been a band 11, 12 years at this point, but getting into the tech side of things and the internet presence of the band, I feel like you guys like are super motivated to always be pushing the envelope, whether it's with the video content or the Patreon. And we're going to get in all that. We're going to get real nerdy here. But yeah, you got to love a band that is just like, well, we're going to do this regardless of a budget. We're just going to find a way. And I feel like most of the bands I've befriended over the years, they all have that same mentality. It's like, listen, like, there's no pot of gold at the end of this rainbow, but we're going to do our shit because we love it. You know, we believe in it. And that's why we're here, to make stuff and have fun.
Yeah, I think the bands that quote unquote make it, and the bands that people look up to are the bands that like people where the people are authentically themselves, and they're always striving and constantly trying to grow in as many new directions as possible, trying to do as much themselves as they can. The bands that I think, you know, you and I would probably agree that either make it and fizzle out or never really get there are the bands that are expecting, like, oh, you know, all we'll do is we'll get this one good song and then we'll get a manager and then we'll tour the world and then we'll be famous. It's like, that is not that's not how it works anymore. B, that's probably never how it actually work. That's just like movies, you know. I mean, like that's what we're sold, and I think it was a rude awakening for me. I think it's a rude awakening for a lot of people that get into this business, that they're like, oh, I actually have to do
a lot of work.
Crap.
I remember we put out our first record in 2002, and I just remember being like 19 or 20 years old, and I was just like, this is it. This is it. We're gonna put out this CD. And we're gonna get large. Like I was thoroughly convinced that all it was gonna take is just like one. And looking back at that album, there's some good songs on it, but it wasn't recorded well.
Right. That's exactly what I was going to say. I'm like, now you listen to that album and you're like, this is not our best material.
It has charm. There's definitely an energy to it, and the songs all are a timestamp of what we were doing at the time. So it's charming. When I listen to it, I'm like, oh, and it's not terrible. But as a vocalist, as a guitar player, it's like, oh, I suck. Because there's things, if after you've been doing it for 18, 20 years, you're like, oh, I could do that better, but it just is what it is. I'm not going to go re-record it. I'm just going to let it exist, and it is what it is. We're just kids, but when you're that age, you have these really fucking unrealistic expectations about what you could potentially be. And now I'm on the back end of that, looking back and be like, well, I could have been this and I could have been that, but I'm just this. And I'm like having to accept that. But it's not a bad thing. I'm still alive. I didn't think I'd be alive, honestly. So
any day that you wake up is a good day. That's the best start to any day. You're like, I'm still here somehow.
Unless you're in like war-torn Afghanistan or something.
Yeah, that's true. But in our case, it's like I drank the Wolf. It was 12%, and I woke up.
Yeah, and that's what my therapist keeps reiterating to me. There's if we go through our lives being very grateful for what we have instead of thinking about all the stuff we wish we had or we wish we achieved. That's one surefire way to be depressed all the time is if you're always glad. And I'm working on it because some days I wake up mad depressed. But
especially now, especially with everything, I was in. It was a couple days ago. I was after Taekwondo class. I was in this meditation with the Taekwondo master, and he said something that kind of hit me. And not to make this all like philosophical and weird.
No, we can go. It can go anywhere we want it to go.
He said, a lot of people have. A lot of people are being personally affected by COVID. A lot of people's jobless and stuff like that. Some people are lucky enough to essentially still work from home and all that sort of stuff. I'm one of them, thankfully. But it doesn't mean that we're not weary. It doesn't mean that the outside forces and the stuff that we're currently experiencing is not affecting us. So we can be grateful for what we have, but we have to accept also that everybody gets weary, everybody gets affected in a different way by all of the outside forces that are going on in the world right now. And yeah, I'm no exception. There's some days that I wake up and it's like, man, I'm just not feeling good today. I'm just not feeling it. And some days I feel good. And I think you just got to take the good with the bad, and 99% of the battle is just recognizing that in yourself, and not trying to fight it, just experiencing it and saying, hey, yeah, that's what I'm feeling today. So
I feel like even on the days lately where I feel good, where I'm like, oh, like in my own bubble, I'm like feeling good about myself. All it takes is for me to go on Instagram or social media, and I'm like, well, that's out the fucking window because everything is literally fucking terrible. And all my, and all my friends that are part of marginalized communities that are in the streets, fighting for their rights, and and I'm just like in a bunker in Long Beach, California, talking on a fucking microphone. I'm like, who the fuck do I think I am? But ultimately, and we could get into whatever, but I didn't get unemployment compensation. I didn't get PUA, so I had to find a way. And thank you, Psychostick, for leading by example. And I have a couple other friends. I'm just like, oh shit, you can play music on the internet, and you can monetize it. And I have to find a way to do this immediately, or I'm fucked. And here we are right now. I mean, it's
funny that you mentioned Psychostick because those guys were also the impetus of like, I'm like, oh shit, I could do this like right now. Oh shit, I should start this right now. Oh my god.
Yeah.
And yeah. And Rob actually, so you mentioned in the intro of the DIY Raspberry Pi multi-streaming box that the video I just released, and it was up on the Patreon for a couple weeks.
Yes, I just saw it on YouTube today. It was actually recommended from my Twitch video.
Hey, all right, the algorithm works. But Rob from Psychostick is actually the guy who kind of he didn't give me the information, but he sort of pushed me in the right direction, where I was saying like, hey, how are you doing? how are you stream? I see how you could stream to YouTube and Facebook at the same time. How are you also doing Twitch? And he's like, it's really nerdy. I'm like, dude, who the fuck do you think you're talking to? Lay it on me, brother. Come on. He's like, well, we've got a Raspberry Pi running Nginx, and it's a custom RTMP server. I'm like, this guy's speaking my language. All right, let's do it. And it took me a lot. He didn't say like how to do it. He just said that, and then it took me like maybe about 3 days of trial and error to get this thing up and running. And once I got that, I'm like, dude, I got to make a walkthrough video because like no one else is going to figure this out, but other people need to be doing this. And so, and boom, there we are.
Yeah. And it's cool that exists. Unfortunately for me, Rob already walked me through that, but he knew before he actually said all that shit to me that I wouldn't understand a goddamn word of it. B, I'm streaming on a Mac. So it doesn't matter. Well, it's weird when you like purchase this new device and you're like, oh, now I'm going to go fast. And then it's like you go online and you start to learn a little bit more and you realize that everyone who's streaming 1080p, 60 frames per second is all doing souped up PCs,
Yeah, I guess so. For me, it's a little bit different because right now we've got a 6-camera setup down in the basement.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. I saw Psycho Stick stuff. I saw Psycho Stick stuff, and just like out Manowaring Manowar, I'm like, I gotta out Psycho Stick, right? So I got at the beginning of the, and I had planned on doing this for a while, but at the beginning of the pandemic, I took my Trump bucks. Oh yeah, and I purchased a cinema camera. With a really nice lens. I got a bunch of different lenses. I got this whole place set up, and we'd already had our in-ear box for that, and we had like a Drunk Sound Guy mix on the in-ear box. So I'm like, well, shit, I can just use the Drunk Sound Guy mix and shoot that out to YouTube, and it'll sound pretty good. I'll just tweak it a bit. Yeah. And so that's what we've been doing. And we would have been up and running already in terms of like a full live stream concert stuff, but Aki, our lead guitarist, he like inflames something in his playing ring finger. Oh no! And anytime he bends, it's like a sharp pain. And he's going through physical therapy. He's had MRIs. Everything's okay. There's no tumors or anything. It's just he's been practicing too much. He's been like tendinitis. Yeah, it's basically like he's just playing. He's playing so much that his hand just goes no. Just stops. So
unfortunately, yeah, the human body, and a lot of it is just genetically based. I mean, we have limitations. There's things I can't do with my body that I used to be able to do 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I could run 10 miles. Mm-hmm. If I run a mile, my knees will hurt for 3 days because I'm over 200 pounds. It's a lot of what's it called?
Impact.
Is it impact? Yeah, that's why they say low impact. Yeah, impact.
Or like compression.
Yeah, and I don't want to. They closed all the gyms back down in California, and even when they open them back up, it's like I'm not gonna go wade in sweat water.
And people like exhaling, It's like no, dude, that's how this shit spreads. No, thank you.
I remember seeing people posting online when they're like, "Oh, the gyms are back open." I'm just like, why? Why? Don't do that. Don't go to a gym. But yeah.
The first month of lockdown, I was feeling, I kind of let it affect me. I was eating a lot. I gained some weight. And then the second month I actually, for the first time in 30 days, I put on like regular pants, or as we call them in this house, hard pants instead of soft pants. And I put them on and I'm like, oh no. So I had an elliptical machine down here, and I just started going to town every day. I do Taekwondo Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday over Zoom. And then cool. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, I do an hour of elliptical. I'd be watching like a Korean zombie drama on Netflix, doing my elliptical, and I was getting into it. I'm like, oh, this Korean zombie drama is really good. And I just kind of forget about how long I'm doing elliptical. Yeah. And I did that so much that the elliptical machine broke. It the metal sheared off. And I tried to weld it back together, and it broke again. And then I'm like, okay, well, I guess I just need to be fat forever. I guess that's what, what's going to happen. So,
yeah, that's been a real weird thing because I've always been a gym guy. You know, I played sports in high school, and I was like, you know, I go to the gym. Like even when I was really big, when I was 250 pounds, I still went to the gym. I still lifted weights.
Yeah.
It just is a thing. And having to teach myself how to, it isn't like actually doing physical activities. It's having the discipline to stick with it because when like right behind me is my yoga mat, right? So I start working out, but then I'm like, all right, I'll sit here and I'll edit video for like 10 minutes and then I'll go do that. But the problem is it's like it ends up taking me 5 hours to get through a fucking workout thing because half, you know, 2/3 of me attempting to work out is me actually doing work on the computer. So it's like I'm super ADD. I lack discipline. And the cool part about being at a gym is it's like, what can you do at a gym? You can work out. You can't do much else.
Right.
So that was a good part about it because when there's just too much fucking distraction when you're trying to do that shit at home. But
that was the nice thing for me about having these taekwondo classes on Zoom. You know, like when we do taekwondo, like you have a whole group there, you can't escape it. You have to do those next 500 sit-ups, or else everyone's going to look at you and be like, why aren't you doing that? And it's the same thing like on Zoom where it's like I have 30 other people also exercising, and the if I'm leading, I can look at the whole class and be like, hey, you get going. What are you doing? Or if the masters are leading, they can be like, yo, Ty, you need to start. You're too fat, man. You got to keep going. They don't say that, but
Yeah, I keep my camera off when I do Zoom yoga classes because
we're not allowed. We can't. They want to know.
Well, that's discipline. That's good. That's good because it holds you accountable. But the thing is with me is I do yoga in my fucking underwear. And it's like I'm not about to turn that fucking camera on and show everyone what's going on because it's not pretty. So to me, and it's funny because my Zoom thumbnail is a stupid picture of me like with my cheeks all I'm doing something like that.
Yeah.
And so imagine you're this yoga instructor and you have a class, a virtual class, and then there's some guy with his camera off, but all he is but he's not saying anything. You can't see him. Like, what is that guy doing? I could be doing anything, but I'm not. I'm just doing the yoga. I'm just kind of naked. So that's that. It's we're adapting here because you can't just, when you get to be my age, I'm 39 years old and I've always had a slow metabolism. I've always been a thick guy. You have to be physically active or else you will get soft. My girlfriend's like, why don't you just not work out for a week? Or why don't you not work out for 2 weeks? And I'm just like, I'm already soft and I don't want to get softer.
Yeah, it's once you get into a routine, like if you break that, getting back to it is even harder. I mean, like I was doing parkour for a long time alongside of parkour alongside of taekwondo. And I did it for 4.5 years with 0 injury, and then one day I tore my ACL.
Oof.
And it was doing the most basic shit. It was so disappointing. I want to tell you, like, dude, I jumped off of a building and I tore my ACL. No, it was like I was doing a dive roll off of like something that was about 5 feet high. It was really not that big of a it wasn't one that you get on your GoPro and put dubstep music behind.
Yeah, it wasn't a Jackie Chan stunt outtake from Rumble in the Bronx.
Exactly. I'd done like 12 of those that day.
Yeah.
And then I'll do one more, and that's the one I tear my ACL. And so I was out of the game I had 2 surgeries on my knee. I'm missing a big chunk of like the cushioning on my knee, on my right knee. Ever since then, I was out of the game for like 10 months ish, just recovering from that. Dude, I gained 25 pounds. It was crazy. And I took it back off mostly. I need like about 5 more pounds and I'm back to like, pre
fighting weight.
Yeah. Fighting weight.
Yeah. Fighting weight. You'll get there.
But yeah, if you don't keep up with a thing, if you don't have a routine, like, good luck being 30 or higher in age. Cause like, oh my God, it just all goes, everything. The moment I turned 30, my hand reached out for the remote as if, I knew what I was doing and turned it to C-SPAN immediately. And all I could think about was municipal tax codes. And that's all I've thought about for the last 5 years. I just, that's it. I'm done. I'm dead. Put me in the ground.
You're an old man, man.
You'll have to speak up. I can't hear you. What is this Twitch thing? I don't understand it.
But you know, like I was saying before, it's okay because you're still here, and I'd rather be here and learning new things and trying new shit instead of just being a dead alcoholic in the ground, which was my other. Could have potentially happened.
100%.
So now I'm just I'm a fucking. I'm almost I'm almost 40 years old, and I'm trying to teach myself things that fucking 17-year-olds in their parents' houses know how to do better than me. Engineering a recording, Twitch streaming. I'm just all like dirt, but I'm trying, and I think I'm doing an all right job. I this is what I want to do, because my band, we present ourselves when we get on stage. It's like, okay, these guys know what they're doing, and I didn't want to be. When the pandemic hit, I didn't want to be one of those people on a 480p fucking cell phone streaming themselves live on Facebook vertical, playing acoustic guitar and just singing terribly. Like I just didn't want to be that. So
yes, thank you, because the second that the pandemic hit, I was just overrun by like, oh, this guy's live, and it's like, oh no, that's not how you do that. You got. Watch a YouTube video, guy. You can't do it like that,
And not to be elitist about it, but I want to promote the same sort of professionalism that I have in doing what essentially became the thing I do with my life. I want to do it in an internet setting as well. Like if I can get up on stage with my band and sound polished and together and powerful, I got to find a way to do that without there being people in front of me. That was the whole. What's the word I'm looking for? That's the goal.
The impetus behind it.
Yeah, that's the goal.
Yeah.
And when we have friends that are good at nerdy shit and like just watching Psychostick, I'm like, all right, I got to find out how to do that, but in my bedroom and with just me. And so that's what this whole journey has been about. And
I think you've done a tremendous job. I mean, I've watched a ton of your streams, and I mean they've been awesome. So, I think that's the. I mean, it all goes back to that whole, like you were saying, the thirst for knowledge, the people that are curious at heart and are able to put in the time and effort needed to make a professional product, even in the worst kind of situations possible. Because I mean, I think being in the music industry,
it's a bad time right now.
Well, it is a bad time, but I think even in good times, being in the music industry is a industry where the people inside of it are always making, are always like carving diamonds out of dirt. They're always in the toughest situations possible, and they're still the ones that survive and make it to the top are still like chiseling away with their own bare hands, trying to make this thing that looks like a gemstone, even though they're covered in soot and coal and dirt constantly. Using that metaphor, right? You wouldn't want to, now all of a sudden COVID hits, and you wouldn't want to hold out a clump of dirt and be like, look, I'm good. It's like, no, dude, you've been giving us like emeralds and rubies, and it's like, I need more of that. I don't want to see your dirt. And so many people are just like, if I sit in front of my MacBook and strum my guitar, and with no external microphone or no mixing or anything, and I did a whole video on this, on how to make live streams sound and look better. That was actually featured on Indie on the Move, which was really cool.
Oh wow, cool.
But it's like, man, I wish more people would, like you and me, just take the time to watch a few YouTube videos and like figure out how to put together a decent looking thing.
It took me
good sounding product.
It took me 3 weeks, and it took me selling. I had 2 cameras that didn't have a HDMI out. Yeah, so I had to sell those. I had to get another one, and then I got a capture card. That didn't work. I had to get a different capture card. Then I got the right capture card, and then I had to get a new computer because my computer was only a fucking dual processor. I got an 8 processor. Thank you, Trump, for the Trump bucks, because that helped with all that shit. But pretty much I had to sell everything that I owned, and I had to rebuy all new stuff. And it's funny because people will hit me up and they'll be like, dude, your stream looks good. How did you do that? They want a fucking quick answer, And it's like, well, you have to watch hours and hours of YouTube content on OBS, on bitrate, on encoding, different sort of encoders. And my knowledge is limited, very limited in comparison to someone like you or Rob from Psychostick. I'm just a fucking kind of jock, like I'm like tapping the shoulder of and being like, hey bro, like how do I fucking do this? Because like I like want to do.
What was the answer for number 8?
Yeah, like. But I'm trying not to be pushy about it though. I'm trying to do the work myself. But yeah, ultimately, like I just. I want to make good content, which is funny because, like, when was the word content? When did that start being applied to art? Because it used to be, I want to make good art.
Yeah.
Now it's, I want to make good content.
I mean, it's the YouTube era, right? I mean, ever since.
Okay, so YouTube was the sea change, you think?
I think so. I mean, ever since YouTube. So there was a time, right, when the YouTube algorithm was highlighting short videos. When it was like minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, those are the ones that were like making the million views, making the money. Now it's completely different. I think when we got into a situation where like I just need 20 seconds of something funny, I need a minute and a half of something cool.
I need a hamster on a piano.
Yeah, that's I think when it became content and not art. I mean, not saying that that's not art or that can't still be art.
Is it art?
But I mean, it's those short things. I mean, now they've moved away from it.
Yeah,
obviously, it's longer form videos are more the thing. And who knows what it's going to be next Tuesday? I don't know. But yeah. Hey, Baka Vision in the chat. I'm Fang VonWrathenstein, lead singer of the most metal band on earth, the Lords of the Trident, aka Ty Christian. That's my mortal name. I use that one because Ty is so short. Because Fang VonWrathenstein, I can't fit on any scantron forms. It just turns into like Fang Von, but Ty, Ty is two letters. That's the shortest first name they got, basically.
Scantrons are very limiting if you have a giant last name,
Oh my God, right? So, but yeah, I think, and it's funny. I was right before I was talking to you, and actually while you were chatting me up earlier, I was watching a Twitch stream of Mega 64.
Is he the DJ?
Favorite. Huh? No. It's my favorite. It's like an internet comedy troupe.
Oh, okay.
And they've been like on the internet pre-YouTube. I was a fan pre-YouTube, and I've been following them for like since probably like 2004. I want to say I've been following them, and like those guys are like my main source of inspiration for like nearly everything that I'm doing online. But so with Lords and with all of our stuff, we were always looking towards live streaming, doing internet related content, internet related videos, getting all that sort of stuff, getting into that realm. Because I mean, you see people on YouTube making millions of dollars, just making random reaction videos and things like that. And not saying that that's where we want to go, but I think like unlike a lot of bands, we've always sort of seen that being kind of the future being more like digital internet, that kind of stuff. Not saying that we don't want to play live shows. We definitely do. And I miss the hell out of playing live.
Never again. I quit.
Yeah, right. But, having like, in a sense, diversifying your portfolio.
Yeah.
Right. Is the way I think that bands nowadays, especially in the area that we're in right now, the way that bands survive. And we're so lucky that we had that was our outlook, and that's what we cultivated kind of from the get-go. Like at the moment, we are the #1 most funded metal band that has never been signed on Patreon.
Yeah, you had said that before. And what year did you start your Patreon? Because I remember because Jack Conte, the guy that started Patreon.
Yeah,
he was in that band Pomplamoose. Remember that whole fiasco where they went on tour and
Yep.
and pretty much they recorded all of their expenses, and everyone that was in a touring band was like, "Fuck this guy." But you know what it was? And this is my theory. It was a genius promo move for Patreon, because he's like, oh, we went on tour and we lost our ass. If only we had a passive income stream that was for artists by artists, and we had this fucking platform where we could get funded by our fans who don't even show up to the shows. It's like, dude, that was calculated, man.
Yeah, easily.
That was calculated.
a lot of these bands, and I mean, like, sometimes us too, I will say, a lot of these things that we put out, it is like 4D chess, like we're trying to like think about, okay, we're playing with people's expectations, and I agree with you 100%. I'm pretty sure that was just a promo.
I don't think it's bad. I think it's actually fucking genius, because I remember sharing that article and being like, what the fuck? Like, if I had this much money as a tour budget, we would come home with $100,000, because we're used to sleeping on people's floors. We don't buy hotels. We don't go to fucking restaurants. We eat in the fucking gas station. We sleep in our fucking car. And it's like, what's a tour budget? The tour budget is like, hopefully we sell enough merch to get to the next fucking city. And then this article comes out, and they're this hipster band, and they're selling lots of tickets, and they still don't make money. And it was totally just a promo.
And he was banking on that, and he was banking on everybody in a band. Yeah. Everybody in a band sharing that. Yeah. And then 3 months down the line, they've forgotten about that article, but they're like, Patreon, and then boom.
I knew it was that guy. Because I was watching their content. I knew his face. I knew his bald head. I knew.
And where is he making money? Is he making money off of Pomplamoose? No, he's making money off of his crazy successful internet startup Patreon. The dude is probably like multi-millionaire at this point. So like, why is he complaining about, Pomplamoose, we were only able to sleep in 3-star hotels. It's terrible. Yeah. It's like, dude, no.
They had a crew, and they were buying multiple. They had multiple hotel rooms a night. They had separate beds for everyone in the crew. Dude, yep. If we back to, if we were on tour and we did get a hotel room, we did spring for a hotel room, there would be 4 people, 1 bed. 2 people in the bed, 2 people on the floor. But
you cuddle. You decide which direction. Yeah. You decide who's the spoon, and you just cuddle. That's what you do. I will say though, legitimately, 100%, I had the same experience that article talked about while we were on our European tour, and I will say 100,000%. If we did not have the backing on Patreon that we do, if we did not have the funding on Patreon that we have, Lords of the Trident would have broken up. I absolutely guarantee you this. And why is because when we went on our European tour last September, October, we were over in Europe. We were hooked up with a guy who was, he was an amazing guy, but we were supposed to play 10 shows, and he booked 3. And and this was presented to me by some friends of mine who were like, hey man, things work differently over in Europe. I know how you like to plan 6 months out. I know how, like, you're usually on top of everything, 6 months in advance, you've got everything set, but like, don't worry, this guy's cool. And these guys have been over in Europe, twice with this dude. And both the times they're like, it was amazing. We were so successful. We made so much money, blah, 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 blah. And so, and they're very close friends of ours. So I was ready to believe them on this. And then I show up, and I find out he's blind. Like, the first thing that, like, he comes in with a blind and I'm like, and no one told me, including him, that he was blind. And not that that's going to stop me from working with him, but it's data that I'd like to know, because I was sending him designs for T-shirts and posters. And I'm like, what do you think this looks like? And he's like, oh, pretty good. Like, maybe tell me you can't see it. I love the guy. He's amazing. He was fantastic to hang out with. But there was that. And then, like, of the 10 days that we had scheduled, and we had a whole route picked out. Of the 10 days, he was only able to book 3. One of our Patreon, actually, no, I take that back. 2 of our Patreon backers booked 2 of the other shows. And those were like some of the most amazing shows we had over in Europe. But the big thing that happened, the big issue that we had, was he also forgot to book any accommodations for pretty much every single night until the very last minute. And we had a bus, and
oh, that's cool.
it was. I mean, it was like a giant Sprinter van, like a bigger Sprinter van.
Yeah,
So it wasn't like we didn't have bunks or anything, so we had to like find a place to sleep. But the problem is like if we were planning on spending the night in like $20, hostels, sleeping with like 27 people in a room, and we're fine with that. Like, who cares? As long as it's cheap. But the only places that were able to accommodate like a bus and 8 people with 3 hours notice were like $500 a night luxury hotels in the middle of Milan, So at the end of the tour, we came home like negative $9,000. And if we didn't, what we were so thankful for is that we had been saving up for like a big old, we're like, something's going to happen. We're going to have really bad luck. There's going to be a big old crash where we're going to need a whole shit ton of money. Or we were saving up for like, we're going to release this album. We're going to need a lot of PR. We're going to have to put a bunch of money into it. So we had, roughly $6,000-$7,000 saved up. We were able to come home and be like, oh, well, I mean, the band fund will cover it. It's going to take another couple months, but we'll get the money back and blah, blah, blah. I can put it on my credit card and just kind of hang on till then. Dude, if we did not have that Patreon, if we didn't have the support of the amazing people that were on our Patreon, I would still be hounding other guys like, hey, guy, I need that $1,000. My credit card is overdrawn. I can't, we would have been fighting over money. We would have broken up. I absolutely guarantee we would have been broken up over money. But because we had that amazing support, so I kind of had the same thing as Jack Conte, but in a less whiny, more real life way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So get everybody watching patreon.com/Swords of the Trident. Get on there. Throw us a buck. And what's your Patreon? Patreon.com/what?
/Neil P.
Neil P. Get on that Neil P. Do a double. Patreon will give you double. If you got a punch card, you can punch both of them.
Yeah.
If you get five Patreons and you get a free ice cream at Baskin Robbins.
You get a free 12-foot sub, 12-inch, not 12-foot. Who knows? 16-foot from Little Caesars.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, So yeah, I made a video earlier today. I finished it.
I watched that. Yeah.
It's I'm just trying some different content to see what lands. It's actually like performing relatively well compared to my other stuff, which is all it is live streams and podcasts. I need to get into actually making videos like you do, So I'm trying to do, and I want to talk about something I actually have experience doing, and it's like, okay, the Bands in Town onboard program, Twitch, being a new Twitch streamer, I can talk about that because it is new. It's very new, so I can talk about it from experience, but. But back to the Patreon thing and the video I made earlier, like, you have to have multiple income streams. And there's a dude named Finn McKenty who does the Punk Rock MBA. I
got into a fight with him.
Oh, did you?
I met him at NAMM when I was hanging out with you.
Oh, wow. I love his content, but yeah, he's quite opinionated. You got in a fight with him? Tell me about this. This is juicy.
Yeah, forget
what I was saying.
So we'll circle back to that in a second, right?
Spill the tea.
Okay, I'm gonna spill it, baby. Oh man. So okay, I joined the Punk Rock MBA group on Facebook a million years ago because I was watching Finn like a bunch of other people. I'm like, God, this content's pretty good. It's kind of cool.
Love him.
And there was a Bakovic, big juice. There was a. There was a post. There was a number of posts where Finn went off on people crowdfunding, especially Patreon. They were like,
really?
Oh, dude, he is so anti-crowdfunding. It's crazy. Either that or he was playing crazy devil's advocate with me, to a heavy amount.
Yeah.
So I posted a few of the videos that I kind of did, the Words of Fang kind of DIY band advice videos, and those got like, Finn came in and he's like, hey, this is unrelated to our blah blah blah. He'd like take him down. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's okay, whatever. But then I came in defending the use of Patreon, defending the use of Kickstarter, and not saying this from like just any old perspective. Like, I have so much experience on Patreon. I go to music conferences and talk. I have a whole hour-long slideshow on how to set up a Patreon. I've done multiple conferences where I was a speaker talking about Patreon.
Yeah.
So it's like, dude, I have fucking experience doing this. And everybody's like, whoa, who's this guy? And Finn was like, I'm pretty sure his opinion doesn't matter and blah, 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 blah. And you gotta understand that what you're doing is begging and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I think you guys are.
Dude, Finn has a Patreon that he plugs in every video. Did you know that?
Yeah. Now he does.
Yeah.
But back fucking then, dude, he was so anti Patreon, anti crowdfunding.
The tides have changed. The tides of the NBA.
And like, dude, I got into some heated internet arguments with Finn McKenty publicly on his board about like I'm oh, there we go. Something happened.
Thanks, Murph. Like, love you, baby.
Thank you. It's like, I think you're wrong. I think this is short-sighted. You need to, blah, blah, blah. And then, and then I run into him at NAMM and I have all my camera gear with me. You know what I'm doing? And like, I interviewed you, I interviewed everybody for the Words of Fang series. And I was just hanging with my friend. I was waiting for my friend at the fountain at NAMM, and he was there too. And he's like, hey, what's with all the camera gear, blah, blah. He's trying to spark up a conversation. I'm like, hey, Finn McKenty, what's up, man? And I'm sitting here the whole time going like, I don't think he recognizes me. I don't think, like, good. Let's just keep it.
Yeah.
Let's just keep it. Hey, what's all the camera? Oh, I'm just filming. I'm just interviewing some people. Anyway, hey, punk rock MB. Hey, let me tell you, you got blah, blah, kind of talking to him a bit. And he just kept asking me, hey, what kind of interviews? And I'm like, the whole time I'm like, I don't really want to tell you who I am because I know, and eventually I just had to go, oh, well, I'm on your group. I'm Ty Christian. I'm the Words of Fang guy. And he was staring right at me, and I saw just the most minute eye twitch, like, where you can tell, you can tell that he's like instantly angry and wants to start a fight, but he's just still smiling. But it's that little like, that little eye twitch. And I'm like, he's like, oh, yeah, I think I remember you. And I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure you do. I'm pretty sure we've had some. He's like, well, great to meet you, Press. I'm like, cool, great to meet you too. I hope you're having a great nap. And he turns around and walks away. And I'm like,
But that's the thing. That's the thing about so much of this when the technology is new, like whether it's Kickstarter or Indiegogo. Mm-hmm. I remember when our management at the time, they're like, you need to crowdfund your next album, because we would always like have, we would fucking record our shit. We would pay the money to like go into the studio, and then essentially what the label would do is they would just put it out and take half of it. With your standard indie record deal. But after the crowdfunding thing, it's like wait a minute. Not only do we not have to like fucking work shitty jobs, like the fans could pay for it ahead of time. A, B, like because of digital distribution, we don't need a fucking label anymore. You know what I mean? So it's gotten to the point where I remember I was a little apprehensive about doing the Indiegogo. I'm like, I don't want to ask people for money. And then I kind of thought back to when we rolled our van in 2010. We did a van fundraiser show, and I'm like, okay, I was crowdfunding back then. And then back in 2008, I remember we wanted to do this live album, and we asked all of our fans to send us money on PayPal. So there wasn't crowdfunding, but you definitely could send people money through PayPal, because I was doing eBay. I was doing eBay since 06, 05, or whenever I started doing eBay. And I'm like, okay, so like, so I've essentially been crowdfunding for 6 or 7 years before crowdfunding was even called crowdfunding, before there even was Kickstarter, Indiegogo. And I'm like, oh shit, I've been asking people for money to support my creative endeavors for years. So why don't we just double down on it? And now literally fucking like this is my ability to eat is because of Patreon. My ability to eat is because of donations through Twitch and through streaming. Mm-hmm. Like I didn't get pandemic unemployment assistance. I'm still waiting. It's been 14 weeks, but thank Jeebus, or thank fucking the Spaghetti Monster, or thank whatever, the universe, thank whatever, that I was able to fucking survive these last 3, 4, 5 months just by being an idiot on the internet. I didn't have to go. I'm a lucky guy. It goes back to the whole gratitude thing. I'm lucky as fuck just to be here talking on a microphone with my weird friends that do weird shit. and and I'm getting by, dude.
Yeah. I think and we're getting so close to the point. We had a year-end Patreon goal, where if we make it, we'll be able to pay everybody. I mean, we could do this right now, but all the Patreon money that we're getting in is going back into the band fund and is going towards making cool stuff for our Patreon backers. We're getting to the point where if we get to this goal by the end of the year, we're going to be able to pay everybody like $100 a month, and we're going to reform our LLC into like a C corp and blah blah, do all the tax bullshit.
You're gonna have payroll, baby.
We're going to have payroll, but I mean, like that's a big step for us.
Yeah, it is.
And it's funny when you were saying like Indiegogo and like you didn't want to do. I was in the same boat. We started like our first Kickstarter. We did it about, I want to say like 7 months after Kickstarter started, and I saw people being successful on it. I was super pessimistic. I still am, especially with Patreon when we first started, about people giving us money, about people wanting to sign up, especially with Patreon, for like a monthly charge. Like, ugh. Like, I pay my cable bill once a month, and I hate that. Like, who wants to do that? And it wasn't until I started backing a bunch of people on Patreon that I realized what it was about. Yeah. It wasn't until I had that experience. But when we started our Kickstarter, our first Kickstarter ever, when Kickstarter was brand new, I read a bunch. I went to, you familiar with Martin Atkins?
Oh, yeah.
So I was a big student of Martin Atkins.
What is it? Tour Smart is his book, correct? Tour
Smart, and he just came out with Band Smart, and he was in Madison for a long while, teaching at Madison Media Institute, and I asked if I could sit down with him and pick his brain, and he said, yeah. And he was like, what do you do? White-haired British guy from who don't know who Martin Atkins is. What the fuck are you doing with your band tie? Everything you do is shit. You need to do it better. Here's what you need to do. And I'm just like, yes, keep yelling at me in a British accent. Yes. I love this. But he did like a Kickstarter 101 because he had a really successful Kickstarter. So I listened to his advice. I followed all of his advice for the Kickstarter, but I was incredibly pessimistic. We ended up having this EP we recorded where like the total costs, we did a real low cost sort of a thing. The total cost for recording this EP was about $1,500, And so I presented it to the band, and I'm like, okay, look, this thing is brand new. We're going to be asking people for money. I don't know if we're going to be able to get where we want to get, but look, we might have to throw in a couple $100 each, but we'd have to do that anyway, for doing this. So let's just give this a shot and see what happens. And, and so, and you'll laugh at this. You'll love this. You'll eat this up. Very pessimistic me, set the first Kickstarter ever with a grand total of my funded goal, $700. Right?
That's all you asked for?
That's it.
That was the goal.
Like, that was the goal. I'm like, that's like roughly half of what we need. We can kick in the other half.
Yeah.
And I was sitting here thinking, dude, it's going to be tooth and nail down to the last 30 days. I might have to throw in a couple $100 myself to get us to that goal. I don't think anybody's going to want to donate, And I will say one of the things that Martin said was like, you need to give a stretch goals. So once you've reached your main goal, you need to have a stretch goal that's two times your main goal. And so I said, okay, if we get to $1,400, I'll give everybody a copy of our first album for free. Boom. And then he's like, oh, you also need to have a funny goal that you'll never hit, but it'll be something funny for you to say. Oh, and if we reach $10,000, we'll all shave our pubes on camera or something, and so I was pitching it to the guys as like, we're never gonna hit this. This is never gonna happen. But let's say we get 3 times what we ask for, $2,100, right? Which again, this is never going to happen. Okay. They're just nobody in their right mind. If we get to $2,100, we'll do a sexy calendar. We'll do the Men of Lords of the Trident sexy calendar.
Let me guess. You had to make that calendar. Go on.
We finished the goal. We finished the Kickstarter with $2,300. We reached $700 in 23 hours. And I didn't realize that was going to happen, and I was sitting there like, yes, oh god, yes, oh no, it's back and forth of like, oh shit, oh yay, oh shit, and yeah,
Sexy
we
calendar time.
dude, we ended up shooting the Lords of the Trident sexy calendar, and it was it was amazing. B, the guys, especially Aki, promised me or made me promise that I would never ever ask them to do that ever again. It was far too sexy, I mean, there were bathtub shots. It was a lot of shirtless, like kind of a thing. It was great. I still have a copy. It's amazing.
Back to the whole Manowar thing,
Oh yeah, there you go.
So
yeah.
you had to make it sexy, and you did. Well, and that's the thing is, I remember when we were discussing goal with our management in 2013 when we did our album called Masters of the Universe, and they're like, you should ask for $12 grand, and I'm just like, are you fucking insane? Like $12 grand? They're like, yeah, that's gonna pay for the producer, that's gonna fly you out to LA, that's gonna be meals for everyone, and that's gonna pay the engineer $12 grand, and I'm like, so we put it up there, and going into it, I'm like, this is fucking stupid. Like, there's no way we're going to raise $12,000 to make an album. I mean, come to find out later, we probably could have done it for way cheaper if we would have stayed at home and not bought all that food and not hired a producer, even like recorded the bed tracks in our fucking bedroom or something like that. Like, I can make an album for way cheaper now, probably. But but at the time, it's like we're like, yeah, we got this producer and we want to fly out to LA, and we're from the Midwest, so everyone was like, oh, yeah, people threw the fuck down. We raised $12,000 fucking dollars, and we spent every fucking cent of it on plane tickets, crazy. On luggage, on the actual producer. Cost a couple grand, maybe $2,000 or $3,000, and food. And by the time we got back from LA, our record was in the can, and all that money was decimated. It was just gone. It was gone, and I think maybe we had a little bit of money set aside to actually, pay for postage and whatnot. Like I have a big spreadsheet of all that, but that was super eye opening for me because it's like okay, in 2010 we rolled our van and we got a new van because we threw a show and we raised we got a down payment on a new van. We raised like $2 grand in a night. So it's like if we could raise $2 grand in a night, if we could raise $12,000 to make an album in 2013. The last crowdfunding campaign I did was in 2018 to finish the record that we put out in 2018, and we got like $9 grand from Indiegogo, and it's like they don't have to. It doesn't have to be a whole shitload of people. It has to be a small amount of people that are engaged and that believe.
That's what I've said. That's what I say during my talks. That's what I've said during so when COVID started, there was a friend that was offering if anybody has anything to offer for musicians that are impacted by COVID, let me know. And I'm like, dude, I'll just Skype with somebody and tell them how to set up a Patreon, because so many people were like, oh, I gotta get this Patreon thing, I gotta get on Twitch, I gotta buy, and I mean myself included for the Twitch thing. But, I'm like, dude, I'll Skype with anybody, for like hour, 2 hours, I don't care, and I'll just kind of go through my presentation and help them set up a Patreon. And that's the main thing. It's like, dude, it doesn't take, you don't need tens of thousands of people. You need a 50 or 20 or 100 or whatever kind of goal you want to set. You just need a bunch of diehard super fans, people with tattoos of your logo on their butts. I mean, that's all you need. And you can do crazy, amazing things with that. And you can use that to cultivate even more people. The cool thing about the music industry nowadays, right? Everybody, I think all the musicians lament the fact that the music industry that we were sold when we were kids is gone. It's kind of crashed to the ground. There's not going to be another Metallica. There's not going to be another Judas Priest. There's not going to be another, I don't know, Mariah Carey, whatever you're into.
There can be only one Mariah Carey,
right? No one can sing that high, even me.
Yeah.
But
she's great.
But you're not going to see those household names anymore. That even your grandma knows who Metallica is. That's not going to happen. But the upside of that is that there's a shit ton of medium grade, medium level bands that are making a living existing doing they're not millionaires, but they're paying their mortgages making their music, making their content, being on Twitch, doing stuff like that. They might not have a gold-plated Shark Tank bar, but shit, man, they've got like a 1,500 square foot house in the suburbs, which is pretty much all anybody really wants or needs or any. I mean, like really, So that's the great thing about the music industry nowadays is like you can have 200 super fans, and that's your full-time job. You just exist. You make music, you make content, you make videos. That's what you do, which is awesome, I think.
Yeah, and I'm at the precipice where I'm barely surviving right now, but right now what I'm trying to do is take this time where I'm in lockdown and really double down on it. And get to the point where try to get some new eyes on what I'm doing and just try to get better at it, quicker at it, make better content, be more consistent with it, and then it'll get to the point where it started off as a struggle, but now it's getting to the point where it's somewhat dependable,
Yeah.
And
hopefully fun.
Yeah, it's work though,
It's work, but
streaming music and fucking around on this loop machine I got, that's like more just fun. That's fun. Playing a live gig, that's fun. But sitting on Adobe Premiere and and looking at waveforms and cutting it up, just to be like, okay, I start talking here, and then it's a little tedious, but I enjoy it too. It's like, I remember I used to think of electronic music as it wasn't art, but the more I get into technology and the more I get into computers, it's like anything where you're manipulating media, whether it's audio or video, like that's art within itself. Like I look at people who have really well edited content, and I'm just like, this is fucking beautiful. Even if it's just well shot on a nice camera with good depth of field, I'm just like, this is like, it's overwhelming. And it was really stupid of me to think back in the day when I'm just like, oh, that's not bass, this is bass, But it's like, dude, the sounds you can make through manipulating waveforms through technology. I mean, like a bass guitar is cool and all, but some of this like hyper pop music that is like sampling all this weird shit and these skronks, and they're using like vocal distortion. They're like they're pushing the levels of stuff to the point where it peaks, but it's almost like it's enjoyable because it's offset by these really like pretty sounds. I mean, most of the music I listen to is like heavily produced, heavily auto-tuned lately. Like, like Charlie XCX, 100 Gex, like stuff that 10 years ago I'd been like, I can't believe you're into this, Neil. I would have slapped myself, because it's like, if it's not made by people playing instruments in real time, it's not fucking music. Like, that was how I used to think. There's that
crazy meme. There's that meme that goes around that especially in the metal community. Yeah. There's a meme of like that one guy, and I've had this happen. You've probably had this happen. Literally everybody will get a message on their Facebook page of like, yes, hello, I saw you just released your latest album, blah 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 blah. I had a question. Was that made with no auto tune or drum samples or time shifting? Like that. That's like every single metal band in existence. There's one guy who just goes around and asks that question to see if like they're a real musician, and it's like, fuck off, dude. Like there's zero music that's made nowadays with no like sample replacement or quantizing or time, like shut the fuck up, like seriously.
Well, I remember I talked to the last record I did, I talked to the engineer about it, and he just said it's saving time. You're just saving time, because if you're gonna go in there and if you in a live setting want to get that same snare sound happening for every hit and then redoing it, if you don't have the consistency, fuck that. Let's just plug it in and have it sound this, and then in the parts where it gets quieter and there's those dynamics, that you don't have to have that one hit plugged in. But if it's during the chorus and there's a lot going on, fuck it, save the time.
It's not that you couldn't do it. If you had unlimited time, unlimited resources, you could absolutely do it. It's not like you couldn't sing a perfect run. It's not like you couldn't play a perfect drum part. It's that like, dude, we're paying a guy $60 an hour to sit here, and wait for you to get that fucking magic. Like, no. You know,
Yeah,
I'm lucky enough that I have a decent, I've got a decent mic and a decent home studio over here.
Yeah.
I can do vocal take after vocal take. I can sing one song for 3 months if I really want to get something perfect.
Yeah.
So I don't use autotune because I have the luxury of my own studio. But fuck it, man. If I was paying somebody $60 an hour, I'd be like, yeah, just fix that. I know I can do it. Just fix it. You know?
Yeah, I mean, we like on the latest record, we fixed some things on Melodyne just because it's like, okay, like, am I gonna go and are we gonna reset up the mic? I mean, this was like during mixing. It's like,
yeah.
Oh, that's a little off. Okay, what am I gonna do? Like, have the intern go and reset up the same mic, and we'll try to get the same levels, and we'll try to get redo that take, and like what you're saying, it's like, you're a good singer. You could probably sing a perfect fucking chorus. But it's like, I don't know, when you're under the gun and you're on a budget, it makes sense. Fucking you use technology to your advantage to make things quicker. That's the way I look at it. It's not that I can't do it.
At the end of the day, nobody cares.
Yeah.
Like, the only thing that people care, like, they don't care that you use drum. 99% of like the listening populace doesn't care if you use drum samples, if you use quantizing, they don't, as long as it's not outwardly apparent, that is, as long as it's not so apparent that an uneducated person, uneducated in terms of like mixing, right, could listen to it and be like, wait a minute, I think he's using that auto tune. What's going on?
The example I always cite is T-Pain. Did you ever hear his Tiny Desk concert?
He's such a good singer,
dude. It's like
so good.
I cried when I listened to that because I'm like, this is
so good.
Yeah, because I remember when it was the late 2000s when T-Pain, I'ma buy you a drink, and it had all the auto-tune on it. I just remember being like, this is bullshit. And Akon, and I'm like, God, these guys can't fucking sing. They're just auto-tuning. And then, so then like fucking 5, 7, 8 years later, T-Pain does his Tiny Desk, and he's got this little band with him, and it's just him and a microphone, and he literally made me fucking cry just with his voice. And
he's so good.
Yeah, so it's like, it's not that he can't do it, it's that he chooses an aesthetic and a style, and using autotune as an instrument, like Drake and Kanye ended up doing a whole lot in the 2010s, and it just became I don't know, what's the word when it's literally everywhere now?
It's like an aesthetic,
Yeah, it's just,
I don't know.
Yeah, and so I don't know, the whole elitism and the whole like, well, if you can't do it, it's not music and all this. I'm so glad that I don't think that way anymore. That was exhausting, being that negative and that high on my own shit all the time. And I'm not even the best singer. I'm not a fucking amazing guitar player. I'm competent, but it's like, to walk around and think that I'm doing something fucking great it's fucking exhausting, thinking that you're that having, who cares? There's
12-year-olds in their basement on YouTube that are way better than you all the time. No matter where you are in your career, no matter where you are in your life, there's some 12-year-old in some country, could be anywhere, is 10 times better than you sitting in his basement.
Who's the big difference? Who's the young Russian man with the big glasses and the big hair? Do you know who I'm talking about? The shredder?
Dude, all I know about Russia is the slap fights. That's all I got.
Oh, yeah. We watched some of that on stream. That's crazy.
Yeah. But, like, I think the difference is like, because it's easy to get caught into that mindset of like, oh, well, I'm not as good as X, Y, or Z. So I'm nobody. The difference between you and that 12-year-old is like what you're doing right now. Yeah, you may not be as technically skilled as him, but like, you can bust your ass and buy a quarter of a cow and make 9 sets of bracers out of it for your super fans. Like, that 12-year-old is not going to do that. Like, you're invested into your own band to do that. So like, come on.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's just about being as authentic a version of you as possible. And
speaking of which,
okay, so that's what you've been making?
I've been making these, yeah.
And that's for the Patreon backers. What is the tier in order to get one of those?
So I'm probably gonna sell these. I'm gonna give like Patreon backers a discount, and I'm gonna give it to Patreon backers first, like, to be able to, because these are handmade, so they're like limited, and it's gonna be a set of them.
Man,
but you know, the problem.
you should start an Etsy account on top of it. My
Yeah, I guess so.
Dude, my girlfriend is selling candles, and what she'll do is she goes in through Photoshop and takes pictures of real people. And you know how most of the candles at like the dollar store are saints, you know, patron saints. And
Dude, we have we've got 8 different series of candles of us.
There you go.
Yeah, we got that, man. It's awesome. And I'll tell you, like, shit. And we also have a handmade organic soap that has a Lords of the Trident guitar pick in the center. and I'll tell you, man, the candles and the soap consistently have been one of our biggest sellers. We've, like, one night at one metal show, I sold $300 in candles and soap, and I'm like, this is why I got into metal, you know, Bed Bath and Beyond. This is exactly it. This is
yeah, and who's to say that fans of metal are dirty? I mean,
yeah,
now
they're not.
Yeah,
now they're not.
They like organic soap and beautiful candles.
Oh, Psycho Stick. Oh, is there anything Ty can't do? You guys are just the best.
Hi.
I'm just doing a bad Psycho Stick impression right over here, don't you know? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like we're in this corner, just the I want to be like Psycho Stick corner over here.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, we're just looking up to you, like oh, senpai, please bless us. Please
notice us. Notice us. And you know what? Psycho Stick has noticed us on this fine day.
They have. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Praise the Psycho and the Stick.
That's beautiful.
But yeah, my whole Saturday so far has been cutting out shapes. And I bought a quarter. So there was a quarter of a cow that was on sale, and so I bought a quarter of a cow. The rest of it's in the background over here.
So what does that mean? A quarter of a cow? Is that
so like when they sell you leather, they'll sell it in like segments of how much of a cow's worth of leather you can buy. So you can buy a full cow, but it's really expensive. When I made I made a new set of armor over last Christmas, because I wanted to because I've been looking at like upgrading my armor for a long time. Nobody had like the right armor for me, so I just made it. And I bought a half of a cow, which was a lot. It was a lot of leather. And out of that half a cow, I was able to make a full chest, full pauldron, and full the dick covering armor, whatever that's called.
Cod piece.
Cod piece, yeah.
Dumb question.
Yeah.
Leather is cow skin? Question mark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you're buying half of a cow in leather, you're buying like half of a cow's skin.
Yeah, like imagine you know, and it might be a little gross for your listeners, but imagine like you skinned a whole cow and you just laid it out flat. I mean,
cut it in half, and that's a half.
And yeah, you cut it in half. And so they had this crazy sale of a quarter of a cow for $60. That's nuts. And it was good leather. It was like 8-ounce, nice, you know, veg tan leather. Oh man, I love this stuff.
You just kissed a dead sentient being's skin right there.
Well, and you know, all the whole time I'm thinking about it, it's like, dude, I'm wearing like a cow right now. Like when I'm in playing a live show, it's like I'm wearing a cow.
We're terrible.
Yeah, we're horrible people. But yeah, so they had a quarter of a cow for $60. It came in, and I hadn't bought a cow for so long that I didn't realize how big that shit was. Did I get the meat too? Said Psycho Stick. No, unfortunately, I didn't. That would have been. I don't think I have the appropriate freezer space for even a quarter of a cow's worth of meat. But I would have totally. I love me some hamburgers. I'll just say that.
Wouldn't that be crazy if when you buy a half cow worth of leather and you get the half cow worth of beef as well, they just like straight up laser cut a cow in half, and then you get just half a cow.
Yep, they're like, here you go.
How much do you think a cow weighs? Like how many tons?
Oh.
Like a ton at least, right? Like
I gotta look this up real quick. How much does a cow weigh? Average? Oh, holy buckets. So an average male cow is 2,400 pounds.
Okay, and so when you're getting the leather, are you getting it from a male or a female, or is it like not matter? It's just from.
I don't know. That's a good question. I don't know if it really matters that much, because I'm not really concerned about the meat. So like,
Right.
I'm guessing a lot of the volume is from the meat, but yeah. So I don't know.
That is crazy.
And then I spend all day with my little tools hammering tridents into it, and then I go in and I paint it with dye and bevel out all the edges, and yeah, it's like you can see it's like nice and raised, so it's got some texture to it.
Yeah.
I also have a stamper where I can put some axes in on the side and all that sort of stuff, and then you can just wear it. You just put it on your arms.
Man.
So go around with a cow on your arms.
Is there anything you can't do?
I can't draw.
Okay.
I'm really bad at drawing. I can do like stick figures, but man, I'm horrible. That is one thing that like I wish I could. I can Photoshop the shit out of anything. I can put explosions and fire into any videos that you want, and then make it look like cinematic and awesome. I'm good on After Effects. I'm good on Premiere, but I just cannot. I have bad, terrible drawing skills. I cannot do it, and I'm super envious of people who can, because there's been times where it's like, oh man, I'm thinking about like tattoo ideas. It's like, oh, I'd love to get this, but I can't draw it out. I don't know what to tell these people, and I feel weird like just photoshopping something together of a bunch of other people's art and be like, yeah, put that right on my chest. Yeah, I like it.
It's a bunch of clip art. It's a bunch of emojis. Just here you go.
Dude, I should get Clippy, like right above my heart. And it's like, I heard you were trying to style a tattoo or something like that.
Do it.
Do you need help?
Do it. Oof. Well, it's I'm trying to, like, my caffeine's kind of wearing off a little bit. My brain.
Let me kick back to the question that you asked at the very beginning of this podcast. You were saying like, what should I do? And now that PsychoStick is here in the chat with us, possibly if they're still here, let me flood the emojis. Do I have my PsychoStick emojis at the ready?
I got mine. I got mine, but my Twitch is on the screen. That's full screen right now.
I don't understand. Oh, I lost my PsychoStick emojis for some reason.
You gotta you gotta resub, bro.
I gotta resub. Shit. Anyway. So
get in there.
Since I'll just throw a bunch of my cat in there we go. So since PsychoStick is here, you were asking like, okay, what should I do? Should I stream on Twitch? Should I stream on Facebook? Should I stream on YouTube? Referencing the video that I put out earlier today about the multi-stream box. And
I'm doing all three right now. I'm doing Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook.
How are you doing it? Are you doing it through a Restreamer service, or what are you doing?
Restream.io.
Okay. So
it's pretty dependable.
It is. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with doing Restream. The one thing I will say for people that are interested in this is that if you go through a actual streamer service, a restreamer like Streamlabs or Restream.io, YouTube and Facebook and Twitch will be able to tell that you're using a Restreamer service. And I have heard from people who use Restreamer services and then have jumped over to their own streamer server. Because you're using a Restreamer service, those different services, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, will kind of tank your organic search results, will not show it to as many of your followers as theoretically they should, because they know that you're not being platform exclusive. Like people, when you stream on YouTube doesn't want you streaming anywhere else because they want that revenue, right?
Of course,
Facebook doesn't want you streaming anywhere else because they want people staying on Facebook. Same with Twitch. So the difference between using like Restream and using a $100 Raspberry Pi that you set up is that there's really no way for YouTube or Twitch or Facebook to tell that you are restreaming, because it's coming from like a box in your basement. It's not coming from a service that they can easily ping and be like, hey, wait a minute, who's this guy? Who's that guy?
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, because it's in the terms of service too.
Yeah, technically you're not allowed to do that if you're a Twitch affiliate. Technically, but I know a lot of people that do. So,
but that makes sense because I feel like if I were to just go live on one of these platforms, it probably you would like it more. It seems that way.
Yeah,
because there have been times before when I went live just on Facebook and it actually went pretty well. But ultimately, what I do is I'm streaming on YouTube, but then it saves it, and then I could share the video the next day, and then I could have it available on the. It's working for me now, but when it gets to the point where I have a little bit more of a budget, I'm definitely going to probably bother you about.
Please do.
Yeah, can you do that with a Mac? Is it a machine that you, or is it
Yeah. So basically, a Raspberry Pi is a little computer that's literally about this big.
Okay.
And all you got to and you can buy them for $40, but I buy the $100 kit that has like a case and has a power supply, and you get all the accessories basically that comes with it. And essentially what it is it's a tiny computer. And so all you do is you set it up as a Linux server, which is I won't say it's easy to do, but it's not difficult, and in my video I have all the commands, everything. You can just copy paste, follow the whole thing. So you set it up as a little server, and then you just like throw it in your room somewhere, or you throw it in the basement, or you basically just have it live somewhere in your house, in your apartment, that's on your network. And then when you go live, instead of streaming to like Restream, or instead of streaming to YouTube, right? What you'll say is stream to my little Raspberry Pi Linux box first. And what the little Raspberry Pi Linux box does is it goes, oh, there's a stream coming in. Let me send that out to YouTube. Let me send that out to Facebook. Let me send that out to Twitch. Like all at the same time. Just
sounds amazing.
It's pretty great, and it also saves a local copy of your recordings on the Raspberry Pi.
Oh.
So, like, because I've had situations before. So, one of the recent things we did was we did a drunken karaoke live stream for charity, where we raised money for the ACLU, and people would pledge. So we had a list of songs where there's a $5 list, a $10 list, and a $30 list. Where you could pledge to make me sing a song in that list. You could also pledge $5 to make me do a drink, or $20 to make me do a shot. And we raised $1,200, and I don't remember a whole lot.
You got loaded too.
Oh, dude, that's half the fun. It's just I sang for 5 hours and 7 minutes. But what I will say is the first time I did this was in May, and I received so many copyright things from, and I was only doing it on YouTube back then. I received so many copyright strikes against that live stream that YouTube straight up deleted it. Like, I can't even watch the replay. So apparently at some point I sang Let It Go from Frozen. Like, I do not remember this at all. I was so drunk. I do not remember this at all. But at some point I sang Let It Go by Frozen, and I can't watch that because it's gone. It's gone forever. I didn't save a backup of it.
Yeah.
But now that I have the Raspberry Pi box, it will automatically save a backup of a physical file of everything I stream, so I never have to worry about that ever again.
It sounds freaking amazing.
I love it. I love it.
Well, when I get this unemployment, if I ever do, that's on the list.
Just put it on a reward on your Patreon. Put it as hey, I want to get $100 more in backers, and I'll make a Raspberry Pi box, and then these Patreon backers will get the raw footy.
And I'll eat a Raspberry Pi. What I'm the most happy about is that you wanted to do this on such short notice. I really appreciate it, and I got to test out this boom mic arm.
Dude, you look so pro. Look at me with my little guy here. It's like, just, oh well, hello. It's
just so nice because I had a $19 boom stand, like regular ass boom stand you would use if you were playing a gig or whatever. And this mic weighs, I don't know how much a SM7B weighs, but I had to prop the boom mic up against, I don't know if you could see this, right next to see that little wood. I had I had to place the boom arm underneath the wood to offset the weight because this would just drop constantly if it wasn't offset by this piece of wood that's right here. And now it's like, this thing's fucking amazing.
That's awesome. I'm so glad. It's always cool to see people taking it to the next level, and you certainly are. So
I mean, is $100, and can I afford it? No, but did I want it? Yes. And is my credit score decent enough? Yes. So
now you can use now that you have that, you can use your radio announcer voice whenever you want, and you won't feel weird about it.
Yeah.
Like tell me about the used car super sale going on right now.
This Thursday. Here, wait.
Okay.
There we go. This Thursday, October 19th, come down to the fucking Expo Center, and we'll give your kids a goddamn fucking piece of corn for showing up, and you'll get cars, you'll get many cars, you'll get trucks, you'll get cars, and you'll get all types of bullshit that you don't need, and we're going to put it on layaway. You're going to pay over 20 years. We're going to sign your soul on the dotted line. I am Satan. I am Randall Flagg. I am the fucking Lord of the Abyss. Sign on the dotted line. Sign your soul Thursday. Yeah, stuff like that.
See? And now that you have that boom, you feel totally validated doing that.
Well, and the cool part about it is, since I don't have a boom arm, I could do this even. Who knows? Yeah. We're on the radio. We're live. This is pirate radio. We're on the internet. We're doing it. I don't know. I don't know anymore.
Let's bring it over to the Ty for the weather. Ty, how's it looking out there? It's looking wet and terrible. Glad we're inside with both of our hands completely free to play whatever we want on the radio because we have booms.
Yeah,
or in my case, a terrible headphone microphone that I bought because my old Logitech that I used 12 years in a row finally pooped out on Windows 10.
But it's working. And like I said before,
it sounds okay.
When you get really loud, it doesn't peak, so it has some sort of limiter on it, so that is good. Because there were some parts where you were getting a little loud there, buddy.
Oh, no.
I didn't even know that was the boo. What else is there?
That was a good one.
What else is there? There we go. It's not really that loud in the mic.
I mean, I can hear it. It's good.
Yeah.
I like it.
But okay. Before we leave here, because we've been live for an hour and 46, and I need to use the bathroom, and I figure now's a good time to cut it. But before we go, let's plug whatever you want to plug, man.
All right. So for everybody still watching, especially Psychostick already knows this, but let me tell you about the number one coolest. The number two coolest Patreon on the entire internet, next to my good friend Neil over here. We got patreon.com/Swords of the Trident. We're putting out stuff, nearly every other day. We got behind the scenes stuff. If you sign up at a certain level, you get 3 free t-shirts a year. They're all made on exotic ring spun cotton, 100% softest shirts you ever want to touch in your entire life. Go to patreon.com/Swords of the Trident. Sign up for just $1. You get so much. You get Fang's Metal Beer Club. You get behind the scenes access. You got access to our Patreon only live streams. Oh my gosh, it's so cool. If you're like, hey, who's this crazy guy talking to Neil? I don't know anything about you. I'm not going to give you my money yet. I need to become more of a fan. I need a relationship with you first. Well, let me tell you, buddy. Go to youtube.com/Lords of the Trident. Go to facebook.com/Lords of the Trident. Go to twitter.com/Lords of Trident because Twitter doesn't let you have a very long username. Go to instagram.com/Lords of the Trident. Go to redtube.com/Ty Christian. That's a personal site, but that's cool. You can still do it. We'll get a personal relationship going there. But basically type Lords of the Trident into Google and the first 50 pages are us, and then it gets a little weird, but definitely sign up for our YouTube, youtube.com/Swords of the Trident. We stream a lot. I'm also on Twitch, twitch.tv/Lords of the Trident. I do a stream every Monday night at 8:30 p.m. Central U.S. time. I do Fang's weird Sega CD game collection. I play a bunch of really strange old Sega CD games like this one, Bug Hunter. This was never released.
Oh, wow.
For the Sega CD, but I picked up a pirated copy made by Good Deal Games. We're playing Road Rash this Monday.
Did you do Sewer Shark already?
We finished Sewer Shark this last Monday.
Love Sewer Shark.
Yeah, we did that. And you might say to yourself, well, I'm an old man and I don't like all this digital stuff. I want more physical merch. Well, guess what, baby? We got your physical merch right here. We just came out with Lords of the Trident tarot deck. We have a full 78 card tarot deck featuring the Lords of the Trident and the faces of all of our Patreon backers are on here. If you were like, that's cool, why am I not on a tarot deck like these guys? It's because you weren't on the Lords of the Trident Patreon. What am I supposed to tell you? You were sleeping on the job, buddy. You got to get on this if you want to be on a tarot deck, okay? Patreon.com/Lords of the Trident. Just type it in to Google. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, ring the button, smash the proletariat with the like button, take down the bourgeoisie, whatever you guys want to do. It's on there for you. LordsOfTheTrident.com is our main website. The best website on the internet. Make sure to get your most metal browser before you go there, which is Chrome, because there's no other browser that's named after a metal. So, you can't use Opera, you can't use Firefox, Safari. Get the fuck out of here. Go to LordsOfTheTrident.com. And that's your one-stop shop for pretty much everything we got. And make sure after you sign up for Neil's Patreon, please consider going to patreon.com/Lords of the Trident and just throw a buck our way, because the next time we are in Europe and we're about to break up as a band, you could save us.
You could be the $1 that keeps this band together.
Yep, exactly.
Lovely, man. Well, hey, my brain's starting to move very slowly. My caffeine wore off.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's
Watch out.
Oh, hold up real quick.
Okay.
I gotta go. There's an even better one that
where I can do a high pitch one. I gotta find that one, but
okay, do it.
well, let me find it real quick.
Okay.
One sec. Is this it? Is this it?
Is this? Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah,
This is the one I was talking about. When we
First started the interview, I was like this, and now
I'm like this.
fun things, yeah.
A+.
A+, A-, 89%, B+. All right.
Yeah, close enough.
Well, you got that red button on your end. I'm gonna say goodbye after you hang up. But hey, thanks, dude. I know this is last minute. I really appreciate you giving us your time.
Anytime.
And the communication has been open, and now when I get a little bit of a budget, I'm going to bother the shit out of you.
Please do. And I'll just say I'll come hang anytime. I love talking to you, And we have a special guest on the stream.
She left.
Oh, she left. All right.
Hi,
but
Allie.
yeah,
Bye,
dude,
Allie.
I love hanging with you, man. Like that.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had so much. Hey, hi.
What are you gonna go do?
We've had so much fun over the years. We've playing shows together, hanging out at NAMM, dude. I only wish you were closer so we could hang more. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's weird because even when I had the opportunity to hang out with people, I was kind of a shut-in before this, and now it's just amplified. I'm like, the only way I talk to people is through Zoom calls and podcasts, and it's a strange time. But I think I needed this to hone things, and we'll see what happens with COVID. But if life gets back to normal, I'll definitely be more grateful for time spent in real time with humans in the same room.
As soon as we have a vaccine, I'm gonna touch everybody's face.
Oh yeah.
All the time. I'm just gonna put my fingers all up in there. So yeah, man, it was great to talk to you.
Thanks.
Well,
dude.
let's talk soon. Let me know if you need any help with anything in the future, especially
you.
tech related, and we'll bang it out.
Yeah, we'll bang it out.
We'll be bang bros.
Yeah,
We'll just bang it out.
On your red tube. We'll be
Exactly.
Good times.
All right, man. I'll see you later.
All right, be good. Thank you.
Yep. Bye-bye.
All right. How did that fan get turned on so loud? Oh, okay. I wanted it off. Yeah. Oh, it is hot. It is hot in here because we've been SUPcasting, and that was Ty, a.k.a. Fang VonWrathenstein. Stein? Still, we didn't even clarify that. Of the band Lords of the Trident, and go check out their social media. Go check out their Patreon. Go check out their YouTube. We're talking about top quality content. We're talking about stuff that is made by people that know what they're fucking doing. I am still learning. But this is it. This is Neil P. Have a good Saturday. Have a good Saturday evening. Like wherever you are in the world, we love you. And by we, I mean I. And yeah, check out our Patreon, and the links are all below. And check out the tea. Drink the fucking tea. And I hope everyone's doing well. And the pandemic continues. The lockdown continues, especially in California. Everything is fucking closed, and we're back to phase 1. So life is. And for all of you fighting in the streets for our freedoms, and if you're part of marginalized communities that are affected by police brutality and all that, keep fighting. Stay vigilant. Stay safe. And keep being vocal, and I'll keep sharing the fucking memes. Love you very much. Love you, all of you. And have a great